Hopefully give you some insight on what we deal with.
Throwing tantrums, like he would hit his head on the ground when he was mad. He would yell at other people in the store who didn't do anything.
So there's one test that he tested positive for in the hospital. For Ebby, this is an emotional journey for him too. Ezra, what are you doing? Ezra said his hot dog was too hot, so he's blowing the vacuum air on it to make it cooler. You're just real smart, bud. Did it work? So one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today is Ebby and his pandas. We've been getting a lot of comments recently asking about him, and I think that I have done a really terrible job at explaining exactly what panda syndrome is and how it affects the brain and all of those things. So I want to take a little bit of time today and explain that to you guys and hopefully give you some insight on what we deal with, where Ebby was, where he needs to go, and just give you guys the information, because I know that there's probably other moms and people out there who have kids who struggle with what we have dealt with, and we just want to spread a message and we want to help other people, because panda syndrome is not widely known yet and there's not a lot of doctors who specialize in it. So there is a website called the PANDASnetwork.com, and you can go to that website and it will tell you all the information. It also has a link in there where you can find a doctor in your area if you do think that your child might have this. So first, I really want Hanny to tell you, because some of the things that she's noticed, because the thing is Hanny, you've been around Ebby his whole life, and you were 10 when he was born.
I saw him born.
Yes, and
very cute.
Right, so cool. Hanny was 10 when he was born, and
he was 10?
Yeah, so you had just turned 10. So she knew, you remember his whole life,
yeah, I do.
And you know how he was. So why don't you tell everybody how he was before he got sick? Infant, like newborn to one.
Well, he was little, like younger than Shepherd.
Newborn to one.
He was like younger than Shepherd. He was little, and I mean he was just a normal little kid. He was happy, and it was like he would fall asleep on me. That was so much fun. Like we called him our kitty because you could rub his skin like this, and then he'd just fall asleep there.
It was the cutest thing.
Yeah, it was so cute. Like we were just Dad would just be holding him, and he would just be rubbing him like this, and then all of a sudden he was asleep, and you're like, how'd you fall asleep?
It's so true.
So
he was so sweet, and he slept good.
Yeah, he did sleep good,
and he ate well, and everything was good.
Yeah.
And then after he got sick,
throwing tantrums, like he would hit his head on the ground when he was mad. And he would just, the smallest little thing that upset him, he would throw these huge tantrums. And anyone came close or tried to talk to him, he would yell at them. And he didn't want anyone to go near him. He kind of just would go sit in a corner or something and just scream. Or hit his head against a wall. He would do that at, Shepherd's age. Or even younger, he'd just do that all the time. It's not something a little kid should do, hitting his head. It was really sad because he was a really sweet baby, and then all of a sudden he was this little kid who was having he was all angry all the time, from this sweet little baby to angry all the time, and didn't want anyone to go near him or touch him. So I couldn't get all the snuggles like he used to because he was just mad, the smallest little thing.
So first I want to read to you guys exactly what PANDAS is, and I'm actually going to read it to you off of this website because I don't want anyone to be confused, and I want to make sure that I say it exactly how it is. PANDAS is short for Pediatric Autoimmune Neuropsychiatric Disorder associated with streptococcal infections. A child may be diagnosed with PANDAS when obsessive compulsive disorder, which is OCD, the symptoms of OCD, tics, and that kind of stuff. Those are some of the first main symptoms. The symptoms are usually dramatic. They happen overnight and out of the blue, and can include motor and or vocal tics, obsessions, and or compulsions. In addition to these symptoms, children may also become moody or irritable, experience anxiety attacks, or show concerns about separating from a parent or a loved one. For Ebenezer, this absolutely happened right out of the blue. When he was 1 year old, he got really sick. We did not know what was wrong with him. He had this huge lump on his neck. We took him into the emergency room because he wasn't breathing very well. And they did a ton of blood tests. His white blood cell count was so high that the doctor said, this is what we would see in a child with childhood leukemia. But all of his test results came back negative, and they didn't want to put him through a lot of other tests because the antibiotics they had going with him through the IV at the time seemed to be working and bringing him back to health. So they said, let's leave him. If this happens again, we're going to do more tests. That never happened again. However, when we brought him home from the hospital, he was a completely different child. He was angry and aggressive. He started having like the tick things that they talk about. He was rolling around on the ground. He was doing all kinds of things that I had never seen my child do before. And up till this point, he was perfectly fine and normal. So there's one test that he tested positive for in the hospital, and it was strep throat or streptococcus. I think that's how you say it, bacteria. And basically, we didn't even bat an eye at that. We had no idea that what could actually go on in the body if that is not 100% taken care of. So what causes PANDAS? I'm going to read that to you next. The strep bacteria are very ancient organisms that survive in the human host by hiding from the immune system as long as possible. It hides itself by putting molecules on its cell wall so that they look identical to molecules found in the child's heart, joints, skin, and brain tissue. It allows the strep bacteria to evade detection for a long time. So meaning this strep is in their brain, it is in their blood, it is in their gut, and it can go undetected for a long period of time because the symptoms often play out as autism or OCD or even bipolar disorder in children. So it is very often misdiagnosed and also not very widely understood. So because of the molecules and bacteria, the immune system reacts not only to the strep molecules, but also to the human host molecules that were mimicked. Antibody systems attack the mimicked molecules in the child's own tissue. So basically what happens is when Ebenezer is having an episode of anger or sickness or whatever's going on with him, it could be a tic, it could be an OCD problem, it could be his aggression. When that is happening, those antibodies in his body are telling his brain to do something it wouldn't normally do because it is fighting against his own tissue and fighting against his own body. So for Ebenezer, he really truly is an awesome kid, but unfortunately he does have PANDAS, and that messes with his brain. So basically the way that I think of it in my head, and then I think the best way to describe it is, do you remember before we had cable TV? Like when we were kids, if you're an adult and you had a TV with an antenna and you could only watch a couple of channels, or maybe you had cable. I think we had cable when I was a kid. But anyways, when the antenna goes out and what you're watching on your screen gets fuzzy, you have to go fix the antenna. That's the best way I can think about it in my head for Ebby. So he's normal and he's fine, and then there'll be something that a normal child would take and not be that upset about. For instance, maybe he sees his brother playing with a toy and in his mind he thinks, I really want that toy. Well, a normal child would wait, ask, or maybe even if they did go and try to take it, they would understand that they can't have it. Well, for Ebenezer, when he hears anything negative, especially when it's something his brain thinks that he needs, he will automatically turn it into aggression and anger because of those antibodies that have been creating in his brain, telling him that things are negative and bad. And it changes their brain function. It changes the way that they think and process things. And so he is doing really well on his antibiotics, and he is like 80% better from where he was. However, he does have to have the IVIG, which is a blood plasma transfusion, and he'll be getting that very, very soon here. But in order to actually cure this, that is what he needs. It basically, if once they get the new plasma in, his body will stop creating the antibodies, because once the body has the strep going into their brain, the brain produces those antibodies that aren't supposed to be there, that changes brain function, and your body thinks you need them. And so when you stop antibiotics, or if you miss doses, those antibodies immediately start to create new ones. And so the symptoms come back or they worsen.
So when we moved to Utah 8 months ago, Ebenezer was having, like, he was throwing fits, like, more often, I guess. And he was angry a lot. We couldn't really take him to stores or anything because he would be fine for a little while, like he'd be happy and stuff, and then all of a sudden, like, just out of nowhere, he'd get really mad, and he would yell at other people in the store who didn't do anything, and he would throw things, and like you could tell it wasn't like he wasn't doing it, like he couldn't control it. You could tell because afterwards he wouldn't really know what was going on. I guess like he didn't really understand, and he didn't like mean to. You could like tell he didn't mean to, or like he wasn't trying to, I guess. And then my mom took him to go see a panda specialist, and we realized he had pandas. And so when he started his medication, he was happier, and we could take him places more often because he wouldn't like have those incidences.
Yeah.
And he was happier. Like before, we couldn't leave him alone with Shepherd. We'd be worried that he could accidentally hurt him without meaning to. And now he can, when he started medication stuff, he plays with Shepherd all the time. He's like Shepherd's best friend. Shepherd and Ebby, they always play together. It's so cute. And he's happier now. Like he is just happier, and he talks more too. Like before, like he didn't talk much, and now he talks a lot. And he's just happier and in general.
So yeah, you guys, it is so true. Basically, for Ebby, he is a really sweet kid. He like, I can't even emphasize that enough.
He's
like,
very sweet.
For many years, he wouldn't even make eye contact with you.
He wouldn't talk.
Yeah.
He wouldn't like do anything like much. Like sometimes he'd have those moments where he would try, but then it was not very often.
It wasn't very often, no. And it is night and day. It's like a light switch goes on and there's the fit, and the light switch goes off and it's over. It's the weirdest thing. He would get up and kind of, he would always say sorry. Like,
yeah.
He didn't understand why he just had that fit and what just happened and where it came from. And you could tell it really made him upset. Like, he was not a very happy, for like 2 years, he wasn't super happy all the time. He had his moments, and we hardly ever recorded his bad moments. Whenever he was happy in a good mood, we tried to record those the most. But yeah, it's just something that you really can't, I think you just can't understand unless you've gone through it. Yeah. And so seeing our life, we love sharing it with you guys, and I hope this will give you guys more understanding of where Ebby has come from, because today I would say he's 80% better.
He still has his moments, but like they're not nearly as bad. Like they're way better than they used to be. Like
way better.
And they're rarely. You
know,
rare. There's still those few little moments, but it's like so minor and like rare that's like not as bad, you know?
I've seen a couple of comments recently, especially during our baby shower. For some reason, some of you, I shouldn't say many of you, it was just a couple, but I wanted to address it because I don't know if other people feel this way as well. He gets so excited when people have presents, or when they're getting something, or when they're excited, because that's actually how he was acting was actually a really, really positive way on our baby shower. Normally, before he had his antibiotics for the pandas, he would have not been reacting that way. He would have probably been mad and aggressive. and throwing major aggression fits over the fact that those presents weren't even his. So him being excited and wanting to see the gifts and see the presents was like a really good thing, like a really good sign. So for Ebenezer, he is on the road to recovery. He's doing really well. His attention span is so much better. His aggression and fits are like almost non-existent anymore, but he does have his moments. He does have his times where he wants to be the center of attention. And you know, as a family, we love Ebby. We know what's going on with him, and we want to be there for him. We would never single any of our kids out, or if they're struggling with something, we would never in a million years try to treat them differently or discipline him for something that he cannot control on his own. I mean, imagine that you broke your leg and you couldn't walk up the stairs and your mother disciplined you because you couldn't walk straight up the stairs. That would be absolutely horrible and wrong and unacceptable. And for us, it's the same thing with Ebby. He does things that maybe he definitely wouldn't do if he didn't have P.A.N.D.A.S. But he can't control those impulses, and he can't control some of those things, and we're not going to discipline him for something that he can't control, because that's not right either. And we don't want to discipline our kids for things they don't understand, and we just don't feel that that is an appropriate action to make. We love Ebby. He's a sweet boy, and hopefully he's going to be getting his IVIG soon, like we said, and that is going to take care of all of this. And I have high hopes and feeling that he's just going to blend right in with the other kids and be a perfectly normal, healthy child and not have to deal with this. Because for Ebby, this is an emotional journey for him too. When his brain overreacts and his brain goes on overdrive, he doesn't like it any more than anyone else does. He does not like it. He can tell that it's there, and he gets sad, and he doesn't deal with it well either, because he doesn't know why he's doing that stuff. And so we're just trying to help him and get through it with him without harming him, because he has no reason to even feel guilty about it. It's not his fault. So we're doing the best that we can, and we're really hopeful for the future for him. Ebby has been really into drawing lately.
That was so cool with my left hand.
That's how you do it with your left hand. Ebby, what are you drawing right now? Something?
It's hard with my left hand.
He has been really, really into drawing recently, though.